Caledonian MacBrayne and the Big Light present
Fáilte, I'm Coinneach MacLeod, the Hebridean baker. Originally from the Isle of Lewis, I'm an author, TV presenter and travel blogger.
And I'm Natalie Galloway, a singer-songwriter from Fife.
We spend most of our time travelling the world, seeking out amazing places and meeting the people who live there. Together, we're the perfect guides to the very best things to do, see, eat and enjoy on your next adventure to the incredible islands of the west coast of Scotland.
Welcome to Scottish Island Adventures.
Today, Nati is taking you on board the Hebrides, the ferry heading to Lochmaddy in North Uist for this special episode which will tell the story of calmac's past through objects and the people who are looking after them.
Coming up, we'll be joined by paddle steamer connoisseur and Clyde waterway extraordinaire Iain Quinn.
Nati, I'm really looking forward to that discussion. Calmac has such a rich history and has played such a crucial role in so many people's lives, especially for people living on the island like myself, both as the main way to get on and off the islands, but also as an employer and connector to crucial services like the post.
It's amazing, isn't it? Calmac, as we know it, dates right back to, I believe it's 1851, originally starting out under the name David Hutchison & Co. as a paddle steamer company.
At the time, they mainly operated out of Glasgow and Oban, but by the 1870s, the company was left to David MacBrayne, who renamed it and expanded the services, running mail to Islay, Harris, North and South Uist and Barra.
It really is an incredible journey, but first I'm taking you with me aboard the Hebrides to go and meet some really lovely, really interesting folk in North Uist and Taigh Chearsabhagh Museum and Art Centre, where there's a special exhibition on helping to tell this long and fascinating history. Let's go! Hello, I'm currently sat in the Mariners Cafe aboard the Calmac ferry from Uig and Skye all the way to Lochmaddy. I have had the most banging Scottish breakfast and I'm on my way to meet some folk in Lochmaddy, bringing the story of Caledonian MacBrayne to life. So we're going to speak to the port manager, Mary Morrison, then we're going to head to see John MacDonald, whose collection of calmac memorabilia is currently on display at Taigh Chearsabhagh Museum. And then we're going to speak to Norman MacLeod, who runs the museum, and I can't wait to see what they're going to show me there. Now, if you'll excuse me, the rain has actually stopped, so I'm going to head out on deck and see what creatures I can spot in the seas today. So, cheery-bye.
Ladies and gentlemen, shortly to arrive at our destination. All vehicle drivers and their passengers can transfer vehicles. Please ensure you have all your belongings. Thank you for travelling with Caledonian MacBrayne.
So I am here with Mary Morrison. Hiya, how are you?
All right, thank you. Yeah.
Thank you for having us here. We're in your wee office. How long have you worked with Calmac for?
I have to say I've been here for about up to 40 years.
40 years. So you've been here for a long time. How has it changed over the years? What changes have you seen?
Well, the tech, we used to, pen and paper used to be, and we are only supposed to book our own route, but now we can do all routes throughout the Calmac routes and all that. We can book anywhere. But now, when I started, it used to be just pen and paper, do your own route, give the figures and all that to the vessel, and yeah. But it's a lot of change. It's all the IT stuff has changed.
So, Mary, I understand that there's cabinets all about the place that have little bits of memorabilia and wee trinkets in it, and I understand they are also John's as well, aren't they?
That's correct, yes. There's lots going back quite a few years, and the boats have given them stuff too, so you can see different things like skipper's hats and crockery and stuff.
Would you want to take us so we
Yeah,
can have
sure
a wee
will do.
nose?
Yeah.
Magic,
Yeah.
let's go.
Yeah.
Everything you can imagine. So we're seeing some crockery, some dishes, an old phone. There's loads of wee toys and everything. It's like a wee slice of the past.
I like the crockery. It looks nice. Yeah.
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 I like him. He's my favourite.
Oh, yeah.
He is like a little doll in sort of beige and what looks like navy blue clothing with a wee hat on, and he's got this little cheeky, I'm going to say cheeky expression on his face, and I'm just absolutely enchanted by him. But thank you for showing us, Mary.
Have a nice stay in North Uist.
Thank you.
And if you're going any further, have a nice stay in the Hebrides.
Thank you. So we've just been in there speaking to Mary, and there's a tiny little bit of the exhibition, and I got a little sprinkling, a taste, a kiss of it, but now I want more. So we're going to walk 3 minutes up the road and we're going to see the museum. Come on, let's go. Scooby-Dooby, look at the size of that boat! I wish you could see this, by the way. Let me describe it to you. It's black, white and red, and it's a boat, and it is a calmac boat, and it is glorious. Oh, here we go. Up the road. Oh, we're nearly here. Passing the windflower. You must be Norman. Hello.
Hi, how are
Nice to
you?
meet you. I'm Natalie.
Lovely to meet you.
So we're about to pop into this fantastic exhibition. So what is it about mainly?
This exhibition is the collection of John MacDonald, who works for Caledonian MacBrayne, and he's been collecting these artefacts since he was a very young boy. So he's got a range of everything from tickets to trophies to boats, you name it, John's got it.
Show me the way, you lead the way.
Okay then. So we have a description here about John and his collection.
Now, I know that you have history going on these ferries as
Certainly
a child.
do.
And you have your own plaque here, all to yourself.
Well, yeah, I think as a curator I had to sort of take the
Celebrity status.
help out, yeah.
Well, there's a couple of things I'm curious about, so don't mind me being nosy, but what was it like going on those ferries when you were 13 or 14? And I know that you didn't get home an awful lot. What was it like?
It was pretty awful. I had one of my friends just arrived in today, is up on holiday, Alex Kilmeen, and he was going on about the horrors of these journeys over, especially in the winter time. It was just, you were leaving home, you were unhappy, the journey was dreadful, you in a rush for the toilet basically, so you could lock yourself in. It was very hard on 13, 14-year-olds at that time. You know, you imagine it nowadays if you had to leave at that age, or if you've got a family that had to leave at that age. It's like basically going to public school, but you go home 4 times per year. Certainly a lot of different days now.
Oh, definitely. There's been a lot of changes that I've been reading about. But there's one thing I am particularly nosy about. Was there a bear on a boat, and what happened?
Well, Hercules the bear went missing here in the Uists.
Wait, he went missing?
He was taken up here by Andy Robbins. I think they were going to do a commercial of some sort. So when he was on the island, the bear disappeared for 3 weeks and lost a lot of weight. It was finally spotted and captured. So there's a statue of him and Andy Robbins' remains and the bear's remains in Langish Woodlands.
So you've got this collection of model boats here. These are amazing.
You know, these are fantastic. You know, I mean, obviously the Hebrides, the new Hebrides, has been one of the most reliable boats and probably the best one, I think, on the fleet. So that's a lovely model of it.
We just came off that one. Now, aside from this incredible museum that you've got here, is there anything else that visitors can come and do here?
Yeah, we've got another 2 galleries, 3 studios, a cafe, a shop, a print workshop, dark room.
And I know you're like merely minutes away from the ferry port, but where can people find you and when do you open? What are you open?
Yeah, we're open 6 days a week from 10 till 4. We're about 100 metres away from the pier in Lochmaddy, so we're very easy to find.
Thank you.
Very
Thank
good.
you so
Nice to meet you.
much. Speak of the devil, look who's just walked through the door. Hello.
Hello. How
Natalie,
are you?
nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you as well.
So, I understand you have a penchant for collecting things.
I'm afraid so. Everything to do with Caledonian MacBrayne.
I'm very
I keep
excited.
it.
So, we saw a little snippet of it in the ferry port, and that was just like a taste of it.
Yeah.
But I understand there is a lot more here, so are we allowed to have a little nosy?
Yes. Yep, we can have a look round and
Do you want to lead the way then?
yep. So So that's just a photo of David MacBrayne himself, the man who's responsible for everything we have now. That's the founder of MacBrayne's.
Impressive looking guy, isn't he?
Yeah, he is. Yeah. I've got a photo of him in the Calmac building, and he started off the business at 119 Hope Street. And himself and his wife were photographed there about to get into their carriage in Glasgow.
So what was it about, because I know this started from when you were a boy, but what was it about calmac specifically that got you so enthusiastic?
My dad worked on the pier and he used to take me down, and I was always standing there watching the boats coming in, the old Heb 2, and then some of the crew would take me on board, and then they'd give me stuff, and I just kept them and built it up and built it up and built it up.
I was going to say, what was your first thing and what made you go, I'm going to keep collecting these things? Now, what gave you that sort of hunger for collecting everything?
It was just small gifts that you could get on the boat. And there was a lot of stuff then for kids, that they could get. And like one of the things in my display case in the pier is a calculator, which is folded. And you press a switch and the whole thing unfolds like a wee robot. And it's these kind of things that you could get at one time. And I would have been playing with that all the time.
Same. I wouldn't be using it for mathematics. I'd just be pushing all the buttons.
You just press a button, the whole thing. It's just fantastic. And they had wee key rings with torches on, so you could have that if you were outside in the dark or that. It's all these great things, and the crew would just pass them on to me, and I'd put them in a box, and the boxes became 2 and then 3. And
well, we know that you get some amount of characters on calmac ferries, and there's loads of stories of romance, emotion, silly stories. We've already heard from Norman about the bear, Hercules the bear. But what I like about all the things you've collected is not just like trinkets, it's like letters and pieces of memorabilia that belong to someone, like that charming doll. You're not just collecting things, it's like you're collecting stories, and there's such a human aspect to the way you collect things.
Well, in the old days, David MacBrayne, he did a book, and I've got quite a few from the 1850s, and it told about every pier, every stop you made, what hotels were there, who owned them, who ran the area, the estate, but also it told you golf courses. So there's 2 in Lochmaddy you could play on. There's none now. But in one of the letters I got in the display case from the First World War, and the gentleman is quite wealthy, and he's going round the west coast playing golf, and it becomes aware that he's only seeing ladies doing the work outside in the fields and the crofts and all that, and he couldn't think why, and he's carrying on playing golf and going round. Then it dawns on him, World War I's on, and all the men are away fighting, and that's why the wives have been left to do all the work. Now, they may have done all the work before, but he was seeing them all. Yeah.
That's fantastic.
And it's all these things, and he wrote it to his daughter down in England. And just how World War I was going on, and he clean forgot.
Yeah, he was just having such a nice time playing golf. He's right, no wonder where all the men are. Oh, that's right.
And this book told you in 1850, the book told you the train times, a whole lot, buses, boats, from London right up to here. So if you were in London, you could actually plan your trip.
Do you have something that is like your most proudest, prized possession that you're...
A few, like this one here. This is when the Cold War was on, and all ports and captains were given all these charts, and they had to watch for any Russian boats on the west coast. But no one is allowed to know they were doing this. And if they saw any boats, submarines or anything like that, they had a card with a phone number to phone in London.
And only calmac had this?
Yeah, and when they did the report, that was all meant to be destroyed. And then at the end of it, all this was meant to have been. But I got to keep one copy, and I phoned London about 5 years ago to explain what I had, and to see if I could put it on display, and they said, yeah, that's fine. So I took about 2 months to get the okay.
Yeah.
But I was too scared in case, because of Russia and that. I thought they might not want it on. So this is all the warships, submarines, and merchant boats.
And so you would have to, if you felt suspicious on the water, you would sort of sneakily take
the only
this
one
in
that
and
had
have a
it
look?
was the captain and the pier master
And you
on
would
each
have to
pier.
match this
And they
boat?
would have to match it up, and then they could see which one it was. And then they would phone London, they had a direct line.
Brilliant.
And this is a cup here MacBrayne did. And it was when the Claymore went aground in Lochmaddy still, on its way in. There was another boat on the way out, and the Claymore had to change its route to avoid being collided, but they ended up in the rocks. So the people in South Uist and the fire, the range in Beckla, they helped get the boat up alongside the pier and made it secure again. And so it could go to dry dock to be repaired. And in return for that, MacBrayne's got this cup made, and that it fits in this box. It's fantastic inside the box. And it was done by ladies every year who caught the biggest fish got the cup. And one lady came in, and she didn't know about this, and she came in, and she came down to the pier, and she goes, I never knew about my mum. I went, pardon? And she won it 3 times. And she didn't know her mum had done it. And the 2 grandkids were in, and they didn't know their granny had done this. And they were gobsmacked to see it.
Of course, because all the names are on it here.
Yeah.
There's such a look into the past.
Yeah.
Everything looks so different nowadays.
Yeah, and like when you were a young person here and you went to school away, one time they had to leave here when they were 12 to go to school, and you were given that card to use, scholarship, season ticket. So I was filled in with your name and all that, and you just showed that when you were going away to school and when you'd come home.
Like the sort of weekly day rider you get on buses now.
Yeah.
So you've been collecting calmac all your days. You've obviously got a passion for it, and now you actually work for calmac. So how must that feel?
Yeah, it's good because I've always been into calmac as a child all the way through, and collecting as well. And then I got the chance 20 years ago to get a job there, and it's the best thing I've done. Yeah. It's a fantastic port, as all ports are, and the folk are great I work with. So it's just a dream come true. And I just collect more and more, and folk know what I'm doing, so they give me stuff as well. Like I'm due to get some paintings quite soon. So I'm just on the way to see what they're like. So a lot of folk, once they know about this and they know what I do, I just get stuff and all that. So just building and building and building.
I'm so chuffed for you, because it's very rare that someone who has a genuine passion for something, whether it's, art, anything like that, and collecting it, and then actually getting to go and work for that place, it just makes me so happy. And
this is, in the old days, before the planes were used much, all the mail that came to the West Coast had to come by boat. And this is a contract from 1890, I think it is.
Olipool and Stornoway.
Yeah. So every route had its own contract. And like here, Heb 2 used to take all the mail in. It would come off in a big cart. And in the store there was a place where all the mail would be stored, and Royal Mail came the next day and took it all away, and it would be set out to all the routes.
Belly beans on.
Yeah, the whole thing has just been great, the history of the company, the lot, and what it means. It means a lot to folk who live here, because it's the one way to get off here, but you can rely on it all the time. Like the Heb here, it's a really good boat and it sails. The crew are great as well, and they do a great job all year.
It makes me really happy because, as I said, you've been so passionate about this since you've been a boy, and this is like a time capsule of a real labour of passion and love. Yeah. And I'm just so happy for you, and I'm just so glad I got to come here. Yeah. Brilliant. It must feel like a brilliant sense of fulfilment, though, like this thing that you were passionate about, now everyone can look at and see your life's work and appreciate it.
It's good because a lot of folk who don't know me, and they see me on the poster, and they come to the pier and they say they've been in and they've enjoyed the display and it's really good, and they'll be calling again the next time they're up. And I was saying to them, it's on for 2 years and I'll change it a wee bit. So, they've really enjoyed the display. And they're filling in the book down there with comments and that. So
thank you so much for having us. Thank you for letting us into this museum and letting us see everything. Yeah.
Thank you very much for coming. And it's good to know that folk have enjoyed it being here. And
of course. If you've ever been on a calmac ferry, if you're listening, which I'm sure you have, whether you live in Scotland or you visit places in Scotland, get your bum to this museum and get a picture with John. Thank you.
Thank you.
What a treat to hear the passion of the folk who work at calmac, Nati. That was just, I love that. Must have been wonderful to be there.
Yes, it was. It was interesting, and I was very thoroughly educated, but also just meeting everybody and seeing how passionate they were. There was something so wholesome about it. I couldn't stop smiling listening to that.
Well, make sure if you're passing through Lochmaddy, you head into the port office and into Chearsabhagh Museum and Art Centre to have a look at some of those treasures.
Now, we are joined here in the studio by Iain Quinn. Iain is an expert on the story of steamers and works as a guide on the Waverley, the world's last remaining seagoing paddle steamer. Iain, welcome.
Hello. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Great to see you, Iain.
Yes, and you.
Iain, can you tell us a little bit more about the Waverley and why is it so special?
1851's the connection. So the Waverley's the last link to all that because it started with paddle steamers in 1851. Evolved into other companies, and calmac decided that the best souvenir in the world, no museum here, this is living, should be retained for everybody to enjoy. So they gifted it to the nation, and 50 years later, she's in no museum. She's working, living, active, in full working order. Better than any collection, I can tell you.
No, you're absolutely right. Now, the River Clyde, I mean, it used to be a real highway of trippers from Glasgow. Take us back to that period, and there's a famous phrase that my island accent can't do. Nati, can you do it better than me?
Doon the water.
Doon the water.
Tell us what that meant and what it meant to people from Glasgow to be able to travel to these places that maybe seemed a little otherworldly to them.
Well, in those days you didn't have money to go vast, expansive holidays. For all of my life and generations before, down the water's the Glaswegian terminology for going down the Clyde or going out to sea.
And give me a picture of a day, you know, of these people arriving. Where would they have got to in Glasgow to pick up the Waverley?
Well, it wasn't the Waverley in those days. It would be other ships that were around. The Waverley only came to Glasgow in 1975 properly. Let's take the Queen Mary, the Queen Mary II. She ran every day, May to September, on the trips from Glasgow Bridge Wharf at the Central Bridge, right down the Clyde to Curator to Noon, Ross and through the Kyles to Tinnabrua, through the Kyles of Bute. The Queen Mary Clyde steamer was the original Queen Mary that gave up the name to be Queen Mary II till it Cunard get the name.
Now, the Waverley, as you mentioned, it used to be part of the calmac fleet up until, what, about the 1970s. Tell us what happened then.
Well, the Paddle Steamer Preservation Society kicked in 1969 in Scotland. It was an English-based organisation up till then. And in the late 1960s, there were still 2 paddle steamers on the Clyde, whereas down south, they'd all gone. So the idea of the Scottish branch was to raise attention that these things were unique and they were becoming extinct. So one should be saved. One should be a souvenir of gold that should never be destroyed. And it happened to be the Waverley that survived into the Calmac Empire in 1973. And as I speak here, the Waverley's had a smashing weekend in London where she's been completely sold out.
I was seeing that. So, I mean, these days, you can take day trips, I mean, predominantly on the west coast of Scotland, but it does go everywhere. But if you were leaving from Glasgow these days, where could you go on the Waverley if you wanted a wee day trip?
There's a whole combination of things. You can go down to Greenock one way and come back by train. That's an hour and a half. Or you could spend 8 hours and go to the Kyles of Bute and Tinnabrua, or a bit longer and go to Arran. You get an hour in the Kyles, you get a couple of hours in Arran. Or join it at Largs and have a shorter journey to Arran and have the same time ashore. The Clyde's a great transport hub, so you don't have to spend all day, all night and all week on it like I do. you can pick and choose.
It's gone far beyond the Clyde. I mean, has it gone anywhere else?
Oh, it goes to Oban in the west coast for a week, goes up to Gairloch and Wester Ross. It's been out to Stornoway and Tarbert Harris, Lochmaddy, Uig, all the places that calmac are so common with, the Waverley's been to them all in day cruising. The Waverley is not an enclosed environmental space. Well, the engine room's open to full view. 2,100 horsepower of steam flashing round in front of you. You can see through the portholes. You see it all work.
It's an experience.
It's an experience.
Absolutely.
And that's the important feature. For the young, the middle-aged and the old, it's all there for you.
So you work on the Waverley.
I'm a volunteer with the Waverley.
Tell us a little bit about what your day-to-day life is on the Waverley now.
I'm officially what you would call the quartermaster. So when the Waverley's in the Clyde in the west coast, Oban in the west coast, I steer the Waverley alongside and unberth the Waverley at every pier with the captain or the chief officer. I'm certificated to do that, and that is an experience. I've steered the Waverley in and out of every port and harbour in Britain. That she's called that.
Aye. Well, I'm boat daft. I don't mind saying, I don't mind admitting this to you. When I was a wee lassie, I grew up in a fishing village, and I would borrow my uncle's boats, and I would row out, and I would just sit. Aye. And I would just sit, and I realised that I never felt scared. I never felt like I was hungry or thirsty or lonely. I just liked being out in the water.
The what?
Out in the water. And I always enjoyed it. So if we get to go on the Waverley, we're going to see you there.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Particularly in Scottish waters. I'm always there.
Amazing.
You'll get the tour of it and see how it all works. It's all brass telegraphs ringing in the engine room and all the things that John was linking to that are all souvenirs stuck away in a glass case.
Mm-hmm.
The Waverley's got her own souvenirs that work. She's a living museum.
I want to go on it now.
Absolutely.
Calmac's general manager said in 1973 he passed the Waverley over to the Paddle Steamer Preservation Society 50 years ago on the 8th of August 1974 and said that the fairy tale is now reality. It's over to you.
Wow. 2 days before I was born. That's good.
WaverleyExcursions.co.uk. You'll find out all about it.
Amazing. And all that information will be in our show notes as well. Thanks so much, Iain. We'll see you on the Waverley.
Thank you so much. I can't wait to go on this boat. And
I can't wait to see you on
I
it.
want to see you there.
Let's go for a trip.
Well, that's all from this episode. We hope you enjoyed it. Please subscribe, like, rate and review and share with your friends.
For show notes and more information on this and all our other island destinations, plus full details on Caledonian MacBrayne's routes, timetables, prices and bookings, go to calmac.co.uk.
Every journey starts a story, so book your Caledonian MacBrayne Island adventure now.
This podcast is brought to you by The Big Light. The presenters were Coinneach MacLeod and Natalie Galloway. The producer was Flora Zychek, with mixing and original music by Brian McAlpine. The assistant producer was Michael Park.
From the Big Light Studio.